Israel launched a major attack on Iran. That's where we're starting the 7 from The Washington Post. I'm Rennie Svirnovsky, in for Hannah Jewell. It's Friday, June 13th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Last night, Israel targeted Iran's nuclear and military sites with airstrikes. Multiple cities came under attack, including the capital, Tehran, and several top Iranian military commanders were reported to be killed in the strikes. In a televised address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the goal of his country's operation was to, quote, damage Iran's nuclear infrastructure, its ballistic missile factories, and military capabilities. The attack is set to bring further chaos to the Middle East. Israel said Iran launched more than 100 drones in retaliation. It also deals a blow to President Donald Trump's hopes for a peace deal to halt Iran's nuclear program. Negotiations had been set to pick up again this weekend. This is a developing story. To get the latest news, you can find a link to live updates in our newsletter today. Just follow the link in our show notes. A Democratic senator was forcibly removed from Kristi Noem's news conference. That's number 2. This was the latest political clash over the Trump administration's immigration raids in Los Angeles and the protests against them. In videos from a news conference yesterday, Senator Alex Padilla of California can be seen trying to question the Homeland Security Secretary. Within a few seconds, the videos show federal agents start to forcibly shove Padilla toward the exit. He was handcuffed and removed.
Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
Padilla later spoke to reporters about the incident. He said he was at Noem's conference, quote, peacefully, and was trying to get more information about the Trump administration's immigration policies.
If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country.
Democrats condemned Padilla's treatment. Trump administration officials insisted Padilla's removal was a result of him barging into the room, not identifying himself, and failing to comply with law enforcement. But there is no audible evidence of repeated asks or warnings from officers for Padilla to back away in videos reviewed by the Post. And Padilla can be heard identifying himself shortly after first questioning Noem. Number 3. Tomorrow will be a day of celebration and protests across the country. In Washington, D.C., thousands of soldiers will parade through the nation's capital to mark the Army's 250th birthday. They will be joined by helicopters flying overhead and hundreds of military vehicles, including at least 28 tanks. It's expected to be the largest military parade in the nation's capital since the end of the first Gulf War in 1991. And it's being held on President Trump's 79th birthday. He has long wanted a parade like this. But many Americans will not be celebrating. Protests are expected to take place in hundreds of towns and cities across the U.S. They have been called the No Kings protests. Organizers say potentially millions of people will gather in defiance of what they call President Trump's dangerous brand of authoritarianism. One passenger miraculously survived India's deadliest plane crash in decades. That's number 4. At least 269 people died yesterday when an Air India flight to London went down in Ahmedabad. It slammed into a dorm for medical students shortly after taking off. Vishwash Kumar was the only survivor. He walked away from the crash and is recovering from his injuries at a local hospital. He told the Hindustan Times that there was a loud noise 30 seconds into the flight and that he stood and ran. The cause of the crash is unclear. It was the first to involve Boeing's 787 Dreamliner and will likely rock confidence in the company once again. Boeing has struggled to fully recover from two air disasters involving a smaller jet, the 737 MAX, in 2018 and 2019. Number 5. Authorities are seeking to arrest a former NFL star on an attempted murder charge. Antonio Brown last played in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2021 season. He was one of the league's best wide receivers of the previous decade. The Post reviewed the warrant against Brown. It stems from a shooting at a celebrity boxing event in Miami in May. On the night of the incident, Brown was detained by police but released hours later. According to the warrant, there's video footage in which Brown is seen fighting with several people at the event. Brown then appears to take the gun of a security officer and run toward a man he had punched. Cell phone video captures 2 gunshots as Brown approaches the victim. Authorities said efforts to reach Brown last night were unsuccessful. Torrential rainfall and flash floods swamped parts of Texas yesterday. That's number 6. A half-foot or more of rainfall led to fast-moving floodwaters in San Antonio. A staggering 3.98 inches fell in a single hour between 3 and 4 a.m., the wettest hour ever recorded at San Antonio's airport. Police said they found 13 vehicles in the floodwaters at various locations and recovered 4 bodies, 2 male, 2 female. They did not provide their ages or any other details. The deluge in Texas is the result of a slow-moving upper-level, low-pressure system that has been hovering over the state. Drier weather is expected today. And at number 7, a wedding photo from 1953 was found in a library book and sparked a search for the couple's family. On her first day volunteering at a public library in Sterling Heights, Michigan, Helen Poniatowski was flipping through a donated book when something caught her eye, a time-worn wedding photo tucked between the pages. On the back of the photo, showing a bride and groom and 2 wedding guests, she saw handwritten names, Frank and Josephine Rogarello. The library posted the photo to Facebook. It went viral, and just a few hours later, the couple's granddaughter was tagged. Just last week, the photo was finally returned to the family. Frank and Josephine have passed away, but their granddaughter plans to frame the photo in her home as a comforting reminder of them. You can check out the photo in our newsletter today. That's the show for this week. Thanks for listening. Yesterday, we told you that the new cancer diagnosis rate among people 15 to 49 years old has climbed to 10%. On Post Reports yesterday, video journalist Drea Cornejo provided an intimate view into the decisions and realities when a cancer diagnosis happens in early adulthood. Find that episode wherever you get your podcasts. The associate producer of The Seven is Taylor White. The staff writers are Jamie Ross and Hannah Jewell. John Taylor is our editor. Additional editing by Christina Quinn. Copy editing by Melissa No and Thomas Haliba. Mixing and sound design is by Jim Briggs and Justin Garish. Our theme music is by Edith Mudge. Renita Jablonski is our director of audio. I'm Rennie Svirnovsky. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend. We'll meet you back here on Monday.
My name is Jason Rezaian, and I am the Director of Press Freedom Initiatives here at The Washington Post. Back in 2014, when I was the Tehran bureau chief for The Washington Post, my wife and I were arrested from our home. I was held for 544 days, almost a year and a half. From the very first moments after my arrest, the Post was involved in trying to secure my release. Every day, journalists defend our democracy by holding power to account. My job is now to stand up for the rights of journalists in the United States and around the world, and especially those journalists who've had their voices silenced. I know what it is to lose a day or 544 of them, of my life for the work that I do, and I don't want anybody else to suffer that fate. When you subscribe to the Washington Post, you support this kind of work. Learn more at washingtonpost.com/subscribe. I'm Jason Rezaian, and I'm one of the people behind the Post.